What's up, Bro Nation? We're talking fantasy wide receivers today. Start or sit. Let's go ahead. Let's get in. But before that, what's crack-a-lack? And it's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know so. If you haven't already, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. If you enjoy the content, it helps me get discovered, and it's much appreciated, much obliged. If you know what that's from, let me know. And go ahead, give me a subscription. Give me a sub. Become a part of the Bro Nation. And it'll be called that until someone else has a better name. I don't know. Brochachos? I don't like that. We ain't going with that. But let's talk about week one. Game one, Thursday night. Packers versus the Bears. Guess what? Devontae Adams, he's a start. You don't have to think about that. But what about Geronimo and MVS? I would say Geronimo's definitely a sit. MVS, he was getting some of the wide receiver 2 snaps when they were in 2 receiver sets. He has some viability in the slot. If you really need a receiver, excuse me, getting a little choked up because I love me MVS. I would say if you really need a receiver, go ahead and give him a start. He should garner at least 5 to 7 targets. So yeah, go ahead and do that. Now for the Bears, I wouldn't start anybody. I like Anthony Miller a lot, but I want to first come out and see, because our boy Mitch, he spreads the ball around. Spreads the ball around a ton. So I first want to kind of see what the targets will look like for Allen Robinson, Tariq Cohen, and Anthony Miller. So I wouldn't start anyone for the Bears. Now let's talk about the Sunday games. We're talking Titans and the Browns. Surprise, surprise. Wide receivers for the Titans, sit them. Sit them. I'm not confident in any of them. I'm not confident in Adam Humphrey in the slot. I'm not confident in A.J. Brown if he's the number 2. I'm not confident in Corey Davis. I'm just not confident that any of these guys, they weren't on my, even in my like draft radar when drafting. For the Browns though, Landry and Odell Beckham, man. OBJ, Landry, their starts. Let's talk about the Ravens versus the Dolphins. And if you're a Raven receiver, you sit him. You shouldn't have her. I mean, Hollywood Brown has some interesting upside, but they're not going to be passing the ball a lot in that offense. It's designed around Lamar. They're going to be running the ball a lot. Honestly, Willie Snead might be the most targeted receiver in that squad, and that shouldn't fill you with any hope. For the Dolphins, though, in a game that they will be probably passing a lot, they got rid of Stills because they're probably high on Albert Wilson. He played very well last year. It's Fitzpatrick back there. If you need a receiver this week, you snag Albert Wilson. He's probably still a free agent, so go ahead and grab him. I think he has good upside, especially with Fitzpatrick there at quarterback. Falcons versus Vikings. Diggs, Thielen, they are starts every week. That goes double for Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley, though, I would say he's a start this week. This Viking secondary is not as good as it once was. Xavier Rhodes, he had a really up and down year, and Harrison Smith, he is a stud, but he did decline a little bit last year. He's getting up there in age. I would say go ahead, start Ridley. Mohamed Sanu, I won't do that yet. He's a good, reliable receiver, but I think he might be in the 3 to 5 reception mark. It's not going to do much for your team. Bills versus Jets. I don't feel good about anybody on the Jets. I love Jamison Crowder, but I don't know if he's going to be slot only, which Darnold last year really liked passing to the slot. I was liking what I saw from Robbie Anderson, but with that calf injury against this Bills secondary, I'm not confident. And then my boy Quincy, I've never been a big Quincy Enunwa fan. What can I say? He just doesn't fill He's starting on my fantasy roster. I'm not very confident I'm winning that week. For the Bills, though, Cole Beasley, he's a start. He was when he was on the field with Josh Allen. Allen was going to him. I think he is going to be a PPR machine. John Brown and Zay Jones, I think they're sit-ems, but our stardom here is Cole Beasley. Redskins versus the Eagles. The Redskins lack anything that resembles a viable offense, so you're going to sit their receivers. However, for the Eagles here, this is interesting. I think Alshon Jeffrey is a start. I think Deshaun Jackson could be a start here if you have him. Nelson Aguilar, him and Carson Wentz, they don't put up good numbers together. I would say he is a sit. Rams versus Panthers. You got DJ Moore and you got Curtis Samuel. If you drafted those guys, you probably draft them like 5th, 7th round. You're high on those guys. You know what? Go ahead and start them. This is going to be a tough matchup for them, but they're going to have the Panthers, if they want to win, they're going to have to pass the ball. And you got the trio there of Kupp, Woods, and Cooks. You don't know. Yeah, you just don't know what you're going to get from them, but I can tell you this. They're all starts. Easy. They're all starts. Chiefs versus Jaguars. Tyreek Hill is going to be a start every game. He is play 3, 2, 1. Tyreek Hill is going to be a start every game this year. Sammy Watkins, he's the number 2 in a Pat Mahomes offense. Yeah, I think he'd be a good start too, even against a scary defense like the Jaguars. As for the Jaguars receiving corps, I think Dede Westbrook is the only guy I would start. It looked like him and Nick Foles kind of had a rapport in the preseason, so go ahead, start Dede. Stay away from everyone else though. We're talking Colts, we're talking Chargers. T.Y. Hilton, probably the only start for that receiving corps. I just kind of want to see what it'll look like with Brissett. It won't look like the same thing we saw a couple of years ago. It's a different offense altogether. So go ahead and start T.Y. Hilton because they are going to have to pass the ball if they hope to win. As for the Chargers, Keenan Allen is a start. Mike Williams, though, I'm not a big Mike Williams fan. I think he provides good touchdown upside, but I feel about him the same way I feel about Eric Ebron, that there might be touchdown dependent. So I would make Mike Williams a sit this week for the team. Travis Benjamin, not even on my radar. Now let's talk about the Bengals versus the Seahawks. Tyler Boyd is the current number 1. Granted, he plays better when AJ Green is on the field, but if they're going to win, if they're hoping to win this game, they're going to have to pass the ball. I think that means a lot of targets for Tyler Boyd. On the other end, Tyler Lockett, I believe, is the only viable receiver right now for the Seahawks. He was a top 12. I think he was the 11th fantasy receiver in PPR. He is going to be a stud. He's going to be playing a lot more in the slot as well. Tyler Lockett was one of my sleepers. He's a player near, dear, and close to my heart. Giants versus the Cowboys. Do the Giants even have a receiving corps? Sit them all. As for the Cowboys, though, I don't know if Amari Cooper is going to be healthy. So kind of keep an eye on that. If he is good to go, start him. But if you have Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper is not going to be able to play, start Gallup. Lions versus the Cardinals. I say Galladay and Jones are both starts against a very weak secondary there in Arizona. They're without Alford because of injury. They're without Peterson because he's suspended. So I think this secondary might get picked apart and what could be a potential shootout. And I think Marvin Jones actually has the most to gain. Amendola, I want to wait and see what his targets will look like there in Detroit. Talking about now the Cardinals. Where are they going to go? I think the only Cardinal I would start in this game, the only one I'm sure that has a role in this offense, it's not Larry, it's Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk is the number 1 receiver in this offense. Larry Fitz, he didn't have a good opening. He didn't have a good game one last year or week one. You kind of saw what he's still a viable wide receiver 3. I just don't see it in this game. I think there's receivers which much higher upside you could stick with. Speaking of receivers with high upside, Tampa Bay against the Niners. Chris Godwin, you're starting him, man. That's a very weak secondary for the 49ers. Godwin, he's going to be getting a lot of looks in that Bruce Arians offense, especially in the slot. We saw what the slot did for Bruce Arians players like Larry Fitzgerald. Mike Evans, he's a start every week. Looking at the 49ers, though, I don't feel good about any of their receivers. Dante Pettis was still trying to prove he's a starter in the 4th game of the preseason. That it's still a contest. That doesn't put confidence in me. Honestly, Goodwin might be the most reliable receiver. He has a rapport with Garoppolo. I'm not starting any receiver for the 49ers. Not even Deebo Samuel, who I'm really high on, just because of the unknown. I'm afraid of the unknown. You should be too. Steelers versus the Patriots. Oh man, this could be a real shootout, especially if Julian Edelman isn't healthy. If he ends up not playing, I think all signs are pointing to him playing this week. Edelman's a start. I think Josh Gordon's a start as well. Steelers, Juju, he's gonna be starting every game for you this year. But I'm not gonna start any of the rest of the receiving core. I don't know what it's gonna look like. Is Moncrief really the number 2 there, or is it James Washington? Is the slot who's gonna be in the slot? Is it Swincer, or is it gonna be Deontay Johnson? Just too many questions about who's gonna get targets in that offense. So Juju, that's all you need. Now we're talking about the Texans versus the Saints. Michael Thomas is a start. No one else is though. For the receiving core, I would say go and wait and see what the target share might look like. Something tells me it's going to be a lot of Kamara and Thomas. Maybe not Traquan Smith just yet, or even Teddy Ginn Jr. For the Texans, DeAndre Hopkins. Same verse, or what is it? Second verse, same as the first. You're starting him. Now, Will Fuller, I'm not confident in Will Fuller. Not confident even when in 3 wide receiver sets last season, or he was seeing like wide receiver 3 targets. Like he was the 3rd receiver. He was the 3rd option. When him, DeAndre Hopkins, and Kiki QT were all on the field at the same time, he was the 3rd option. You could dismiss me with that, man. Dismiss me with that. Miss me with that. I don't know if Kiki QT will be healthy for this game. I don't see him playing. And they did acquire Kenny Stills, but what is he going to look like in this offense? DeAndre Hopkins is the only start here. And for the last game, the Broncos versus the Raiders, Antonio Brown is a start. He was described as a crazy man that gets the job done, and you know what? He's crazy. He's got a lot of shenanigans, but I love me some fantasy football with Antonio Brown on my team. I would stay away from the rest of the receiving core until we kind of see what we're going to get from Derek Carr. But for the Broncos, I'd say if Emmanuel Sanders is healthy, he is a start. If not, then go with Hamilton, even over Sutton. I don't know what to expect from Sutton, but I know Hamilton, he will see a plethora of the targets because I expect him to step into that Emmanuel Sanders role where he could play the outside or the slot. That's it for the video. Hopefully it kind of helped narrow down some of the stuff you wanted, especially with receivers. I know receivers can be really tough. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.